Roy Harper didn't just grow up fast, he grew up in the shadow of heroes and hardship. Orphaned at a young age, he was taken in by a Navajo medicine man named Bravebow, who became both his guardian and his teacher. Under his care, Roy learned discipline, patience, and the skill to split an arrow mid-air long before he ever met the Emerald Archer himself. His upbringing in the desert wasn't just about survival, it was about finding balance between instinct and precision. When tragedy struck again, Roy's life took another sharp turn. Bravebow had passed away, leaving him feeling devastated. Eventually, Green Arrow did step in as his mentor. The transition from reservation life to the bustling world of superheroes was jarring, but Roy adapted rather quickly. He wasn't satisfied to be just a sidekick. He was determined to prove himself as a hero in his own right. Even in those early days, his rebellious streak hinted that he was never going to be content by just simply following someone else's aim. His skill set is the kind that makes even seasoned heroes take notice. A master archer trained to Olympic-level precision, he can land a shot in conditions that would send most marksmen packing. His time with both Bravebow and Green Arrow gave him a blend of traditional technique and creative flair, allowing him to even turn trick arrows into art. But archery is only part of the equation. Roy is an expert marksman with firearms, throwing weapons, and improvised projectiles, making him dangerous with almost anything in his hands. The years of fieldwork on the reservation had honed his strength and agility, giving him an edge in fights that don't allow for distance. He's also skilled in infiltration, reconnaissance, and survival tactics, habits forged both from his upbringing in the wild and his time running missions with top-tier teams. What sets Roy apart is his adaptability. He can shift from long-range sniper to a street-level brawler without missing a beat. Whether he uses high-tech gadgetry or nothing more than a bowstring and grit, he's the kind of fighter who turns the battlefield into his home turf. Roy's years with Green Arrow were as formative as they were complicated. Taken under Oliver Queen's wing after Bravebow's death, he became Speedy, the Archer's quick-handed, sharp-eyed partner. Training alongside Green Arrow pushed his archery to its peak and introduced him to a world of costumed crime fighting that demanded more than just his skill with a bow. Roy learned to think on his feet, adapt to unpredictable situations, and hold his own against threats far larger than himself. Life with Oliver wasn't all clean shots and victories. Their partnership was intense, with Roy often striving to keep pace with his mentor's larger-than-life presence, while also carving out his own sense of identity. The two developed a bond that was part camaraderie, part family, and occasionally part friction. Oliver's unconventional methods and moral convictions shaped Roy's sense of justice, even when the two clashed. Their time together built the foundation for Roy's career as a hero, but it also planted the seeds of his independence. Working alongside Green Arrow taught him the value of precision and timing, and that sometimes even the closest partnerships must make room for growth. Roy's most harrowing fight came not from the streets, but from within. Still a teenager, barely out of boyhood, he spiraled into heroin use during a period when his mentor Green Arrow was absent from his life. Feeling abandoned and desperate to numb the ache, he slipped deeper until the truth came to light, a revelation that shattered the trust between them. The fallout was raw and personal, forcing Roy through painful withdrawal and the slow grinding work of recovery. The experience left scars that never fully faded, shaping the man that he would become, someone who carried his mistakes like old battle wounds, using them to fuel his resolve as arsenal and to guide others away from the same darkness he once knew too well. After years of operating in Green Arrow's shadow, he stepped into his own identity, trading the bright colors and bowstrings for a far more versatile arsenal. You see what I did there? The transformation marked a break from being seen as just a kid with a bow and into someone who could handle any mission, any weapon, and any opponent. The change reflected more than practicality. It was an evolution of attitude. He was no longer the eager protégé trying to prove himself. He was a professional who had already proven it. The new persona also carried a harder edge. Arsenal was sharper, more tactical, and far less interested in fitting the traditional hero mold. It was Roy embracing his independence and refusing to be defined by his past, even as the lessons from it continued to shape his aim. His rise began when he took leadership of the Titans during a time of instability. Rather than simply firing arrows from the sidelines, Roy was in the war room, calling shots and directing a roster of heroes with vastly different powers and personalities. In one high-stakes operation, he orchestrated a counterstrike against a terrorist group, Hive, commanding assaults to dismantle their command structure. It was a victory that showcased his tactical skill and ability to get a fractured team working as one. His government work pulled him into even riskier territory. As a part of a federal team, Checkmate, Roy found himself embedded deep in hostile environments, often undercover. On one mission, he infiltrated a rogue nation supplying weapons to metahuman mercenaries, posing as an arms dealer to dismantle the operation from within. With nothing but concealed weaponry, his wits, and a dangerous cover story, Roy managed to sabotage their chain and extract intelligence that stopped a full-scale attack. It was a reminder that Arsenal wasn't just a marksman, he was a covert operative who could turn the enemy's own ground against them. But some of his most personal and painful moments also defined him. After the destruction of Star City and the loss of his daughter, Leanne, Roy fell into one of the darkest periods of his life. Despite severe injury and grief, he returned to the field, refusing to let tragedy end his career. His path back was violent and messy, involving a hunt for the executioner, the villain responsible for his daughter's death. This led to a brutal confrontation that tested his morality as much as his skill. Even with all of the loss, Roy's ability to rise again cemented Arsenal as a survivor, one whose greatest weapon was his refusal to break. Once a boy with a bow to the battle-hardened figure of Arsenal, his story is a reminder that heroism is rarely a straight line. His journey has been marked by triumphs earned by his skill and strategy, but also by setbacks that demanded resilience over raw strength. He faced betrayal, personal tragedy, and the weight of operating in the morally gray spaces where easy answers don't exist. And through it all, he refused to stand down. The lessons in his path are as sharp as the arrows he once carried. Growth means stepping out from the comfort of someone else's shadow, even when the world doubts you. True leadership requires more than commanding a team. It demands listening, adapting, and sometimes making decisions that carry personal cost. And perhaps most of all, survival isn't just about avoiding defeat, it's about finding the will to rise again after the hardest falls. In the wider DC universe, Arsenal stands as living proof that you don't need powers to be extraordinary. His legacy isn't built on invincibility, but on the grit to face danger head on and the courage to keep going even when the fight gets personal. He has been a leader, a sidekick, a covert operative, and a survivor, and each chapter has sharpened him into a hero who refuses to be defined by his scars. Roy Harper adapts, he evolves, and he wins battles that others wouldn't dare fight. In a world of gods and legends, he reminds us that determination can hit harder than any superpower, and that the strongest heroes are often the ones who keep getting back up, ready to take the next shot.